Alright, good day everyone. So today we're gonna do another unboxing video. And this is gonna be about the SH Monsterarts Mechagodzilla from the movie Godzilla vs. Kong. But before we begin, I'd like to invite everyone to please subscribe to the channel and hit on the notification bell to get the latest updates from the hobbyist. So yeah, let's get right into it. So again, this is Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong, and following the same theme as the box from the first two releases, which is Godzilla and Kong. It has the same colorful splash on the background. So this is what the front of the box looks like. On top, simple text, SH Monsterarts Mechagodzilla. On the sides, you have a small picture of the figure. On the other side, just some text, Monsterverse logo, SH Monsterarts Mechagodzilla. Then at the back, it shows you the figure and some of the poses that you could do with the figure and some of the gimmicks that the figure has. So yeah, let's get right into it and let's open up the box and see what the figure looks like. Okay, so out of the box, this is what we have. So we have the Mechagodzilla figure, really nice, really imposing figure. And then we also have an extra pair of hands, and then an instruction manual. So this is one of the rare occasions that you want to keep this thing, because you might forget that there is really no articulation on the fingers. So I'm just gonna get it off our chest already. So part of the gimmick is you could replace the fingers on the joint so that from this closed hand right here, it becomes an open or relaxed hand. So basically that's it. And then it also says here that you have to be careful of the hydraulic pistons on the legs. So Mechagodzilla has a lot of these hydraulics. So it has 4 on the leg area, and a lot of figures actually have broken hydraulic rods. So you have to be careful in moving the figure and be mindful of when it's already showing some stress. You have to stop the motion there. Otherwise, you might end up with a broken figure. Anyway, yeah, that's it. And then some of the gimmicks we'll show you later on. So yeah, let's go ahead and look into the figure. Okay, so first let's look at the sculpt and the paint application on this figure. So in terms of sculpt, SH Monsterarts really did an awesome job in sculpting this figure. And for someone, if you've seen the channel, we've been doing a lot of custom figures in the past. And I can tell you that one of the hardest things to sculpt are mecha parts. So robot parts in general. Why? Because as you can see here, it's basically ordered chaos. It's ordered chaos. So it looks like all of those sheets of metal are all over the place, but there is a there is a beautiful chaos going on that figure, and those details are the ones that are really hard to nail, especially since it's metal. So it's not like, so it has to be angled, it has to be, the lines has to be straight, and all that. So not like organic figures, like say if you have like a Godzilla figure right here, and for Godzilla the patterns are very much random. So yes, you could say there is still quite an order to it, but you could get away with some of the little details that it doesn't have to be straight, it doesn't have to fall in line, it just has to follow a certain pattern to it. Unlike when you're doing metal parts, it has to really be polished, it has to be smooth, it has to be straight. if it's angled, it has to be angled the right way. So all of those intricate details on the chest, all over the body, basically, it has to be the same. So yeah, so I appreciate how they did this. They sculpted it really well. And what I liked the most about it, about the design, was how they implemented the joints. I'm not particularly a fan of the material that they used for the pistons of the hydraulics. So a lot of it was a nice idea, really. I mean, all of the joints here have some sort of piston going on the legs. There are some on the back of the knees. There's also some pistons going on. But the thing is, they used plastic to implement those pistons, and a lot of people have been reporting that they have broken those piston rods, and for good reason, because it's made of plastic, and if you bend it in the wrong direction, chances are you will break those pistons. So anyway, but I really like how they implemented it. It's a good idea, especially on the mouth. If you open the mouth of Mechagodzilla, it opens up really wide. You can see there's also some pistons going on, and it's hidden really well when you close the mouth. See? So it closes flush, and the head sculpt, really amazing. So all of those teeth details, they nailed it perfectly. Anyway, now let's move on with the paint application. In terms of paint application, it's basically a gunmetal silver. There's a gunmetal silver all over the body, and so now some people are pointing out there's little to no weathering, and it looks like it just came out of the factory. That's true, and it's a breath of fresh air, really, because when we actually designed our Mechagodzilla before, Playmates Mechagodzilla, we put a ton of weathering on that figure. And you know, sometimes if it looks neat, if it looks clean, and just put a little hint of weathering here and there. Like for example, in this figure, they put some, at least a little bit, on the arms and on the chest, and that's kind of really what it needs. For me, it looks really good. Now, something that I'm not particularly a fan of is the application of the red paint, or the lights, if you will, on Mechagodzilla, because when you see the movie, there's really a lot of it. It's all over Mechagodzilla's body, not just on the dorsal plates. If you bend when the tail moves, each segment of the tail actually has a light in it, and then there is some light also radiating from the chest area, from the rib area, and also in between those gaps on the forearms. So there's really a lot of opportunities to customize this figure, especially if you're gonna put all of those lights, if you will. And I'm particularly, I really like the red paint that they implemented on the eyes. It really pops out, and I wish that they used the same color of red for the rest of the body, for the rest of the other lights that are on the figure, like on the dorsal plates and whatnot. So yeah, but other than that, not really a deal breaker for me. The paint application is good, to be honest. Okay, so now let's look at the articulation on this figure. So basically, the head moves up that far, moves down that far, which is a nice pose. It was able to look down, then move side to side that far, and then on the shoulders you have some shoulder pads with some missiles on it. moves all the way up that far, and you could turn the arm a full 360 using a swivel, and then it's connected to the body by a swivel as well. And then the arms, they can also move up that far. It's connected by a hinge. It's not a ball joint, so it moves up. Be sure that when you're moving it, you just have to support it on both ends of the joint to make sure that it doesn't break on you and not nick on the paint, because the joints are really tight, and I mean really tight. Now after that, you also have a hinge and a swivel combo on the elbows, and again on the elbow it's also a tight joint, so do support it on both ends. And then finally on the forearms, I mean on the wrist, you have a ball joint. So here, as I mentioned earlier, the fingers are not articulated, so this is kind of like a clenched fist, and you can remove this and replace it with the other one that comes on the extra pair of hands, and then if you connect it, it gives you kind of an open finger. So do remember, the fingers are not articulated and they're made of vinyl, so chances are if you try to force them to move, they're probably gonna break on you. Mine has kind of a QA issue, quality assurance issue. This finger is kind of close too much compared to the rest of the other fingers. On the other side, it's kind of off a little bit, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, so moving on to the rest of the body, there's no movement on the waist area or on the body. So after this, basically the movement that you could do with the figure is on the leg area. So again, there is a swivel to move the leg out, but do remember to be mindful of the pistons to make sure that you don't overextend it. And then the legs also move, it's placed outward, and there is also this hip cover, and if you will, or hip pad, so that you would know how far it could go. So it goes far, at least that far. Yeah, and again, be mindful of the pistons. And then there is also a swivel on the leg. There's a tie swivel here, but again, because of the pistons, the movement is fairly limited. And then finally, you have some joints, some hinge on the knees. So the knees, they move that far. So yeah. And then finally, on the feet or on the ankles, you have some Gundam style ankle covers or ankle joints. So this one moves up, and then same with the front part of the ankle, there are some covers there. And then there's a hinge on the foot. And so if there's a hinge on the foot, not like on other SH Monsterarts figures wherein there's really a ball joint supporting the feet, how could you support such a massive figure like this? Well, basically the trick is on the toes, because the toes are splayed really outward, so it doesn't really need much of that motion to stand upright. Nice design, but yeah, I wish that they could have implemented a ball joint here instead, because I don't think they really need the hinge, since they didn't really put a piston on this joint anyway. So they could have gotten away with a hinge instead. Anyway, so it is what it is. Now moving on to the tail. So SH Monsterarts, so they implemented the tail just like how they did with the Godzilla figure. So it's basically ball joints all the way up to this point right here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 ball joints. And yeah, it's a bummer that the blade on the end of the tail doesn't split and it doesn't turn around. But the nice thing about it is how fluid the tail moves. So it could hold a pose. It's really dynamic. It's a nice figure. I mean, it's a nice tail design that they did for this figure. Okay, so moving on to the other gimmicks that this figure has. So on the chest area, it also has a rocket bay on the chest area. So basically all you need to do is just to open up the rocket bay on the chest. So there's 3 of them. So there's one here, and then there's another one here, and then another one on the end. So there's basically like 3 sets of rocket bays. And yeah, and then on the shoulder pads, you could also flip this thing open, and it also reveals another set of rocket bay on the shoulder pads. So that goes to both sides of the figure. So pretty cool detail, and I'm really impressed with, I just want to point it out because I failed to mention it earlier, there's also some weapon or rocket bay on the back of Mechagodzilla, and that detail is just awesome. So anyway, yeah, so those are the gimmicks of this figure. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to compare this figure against the other figures that you might have in your collection. Okay, so this is how the SH Monsterarts Mechagodzilla stack up against its co-stars. So here we have the SH Monsterarts Godzilla 2021 and the SH Monsterarts Kong. So as you can see here, Mechagodzilla towers over these 2 figures. So it stands at around 7 3/4 inch tall. So it's almost 8 inches. And so yeah, well, I think it's movie accurate because on most of the fight scenes with Godzilla and Kong, Mechagodzilla's stance isn't really as upright as this one. So it's usually splayed open. The legs are usually splayed open, so it looks smaller than it actually is. Anyway, yeah, final thoughts about this figure. So if you are a Mechagodzilla collector or a Godzilla universe kaiju collector, if you will, there's really no reason for you not to get this figure. The gimmicks are really cool. It's made of ABS and die-cast metal, so you're really getting a premium figure here. Now there are some design flaws, like the pistons, the pistons on the legs here. This is usually where the figure breaks. So I feel like they should have implemented it better than how they did here. So instead of using plastic, they could have used metal instead, or maybe make this removable so that it's easier for people to pose it, or if they want to pose it this way, then they could. So the paint application, there are some hits and misses there, but in terms of sculpt, it's really spot on. It's really cool how they did the sculpt on this figure.
Other than that, yeah, it's really a nice figure to have. I really have there's no deal breakers for me on this figure for you not to get it. But personally, because I'm not really a fan of how they did, I'm not really a fan of the Mechagodzilla design. So it's not really like Kiryu or the Showa Mechagodzilla that really, has a special place on my heart. This one, they did an awesome job on their take of Mechagodzilla. There isn't a Mechagodzilla in the market that you can get of this quality. So yeah, by all means, you should get one of these. Okay, so at this point, you should be seeing the shoutouts for today's video. And as usual, if you want to be included on the next roll call, all you need to do is drop us a comment down below, show us some love, hit on the subscribe button. And so, yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. And enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys soon. Peace!